What if this video found you right now, for a reason you can feel but cannot yet name? You have felt it before, that quiet, unshakable certainty that you are standing on the edge of a profound change. It's not a hope or a wish. It's a deep, cellular knowing, a whisper in your bones that life is preparing to move you. You haven't spoken it aloud. There is no billboard, no announcement. Yet you know. Most dismiss this as a fleeting mood. But in the depths of your psyche, something far more significant is stirring. This isn't random. It's the first tremor of a seismic shift within you. This is the silent genesis of your greatest return. And if you're here now, it's because that process has already begun. This moment is not accidental. Have you ever sensed a profound alteration approaching, like a change in atmospheric pressure before a storm? You lack evidence, yet the feeling is undeniable. You're standing before a door you cannot see, but you feel its presence. This is not how false starts begin. This is how true transformations are initiated. Not with fanfare, but with a vibration from your core. It's the murmur of your authentic self, growing restless within a life that has become too small. A channel member once shared that after a decade in a secure career, she felt a hollow stillness. One evening, scrolling mindlessly, she was pulled to rewatch an old lecture on personal rebirth. She couldn't explain the pull, but her pulse quickened at certain words. Weeks later, she enrolled in a long-deferred program. Within a year, she had rebuilt her life around a forgotten passion. When asked what sparked it, she said, "Something clicked that night. A lens shifted, and I saw a path I'd been blind to." That is synchronicity in action. Your unconscious mind orchestrates meetings with ideas, with people, with videos like this one, precisely when you are ripe for change. This is your psyche's way of preparing the ground. Are you sensing that your old skin is beginning to feel tight, that familiar rhythms now grate? This isn't strangeness, it's growth. You are entering a cycle of conscious expansion. The true self does not ask for permission to emerge, it announces its readiness by making the old life untenable. Like a tree in spring, it doesn't debate budding. It simply does, driven by an innate force. Your rising is no different. It arrives on its own schedule. Picture a canyon river. Surface water churns against rocks, chaotic and loud. But beneath that turbulence runs a deep, persistent current, sure of its destination. Your life may feel like that turbulent surface now. But underneath, a powerful directional flow is guiding you. Synchronicity is that current sending you a signal. Pay attention. Alignment is near. In recent days, you may have noticed subtle internal shifts. Patience for trivialities wears thin. Your inner voice grows clearer on what must be released. You feel simultaneously weary and electrically alive with a quiet, gathering energy. This is not chaos. This is a recall notice from your soul. The world dreams in distraction, but the soul awakens in quiet attention. Your true self calls, sometimes through restlessness, sometimes through a quiet pull, sometimes through a message that arrives exactly on time. You are here because a shift at the soul level has already occurred, even if your conscious mind lags behind. You are here because a greater version of your story is waiting for you to step into its narrative. And once you heed this call, the journey moves into its most misunderstood, yet vital phase. This is the strange, disorienting period when the old chapter has ended, but the new one remains unwritten. You look at your life and feel a deep dissonance. The job that provided security now feels like a cage. Conversations with old circles ring hollow. Passions have cooled to ash. You belong nowhere, not to the past, and not yet to the future. You stand in a barren landscape between two worlds. This in-between terrifies because it offers no map, no guarantees, no visible horizon. Yet, in depth psychology, this is known as the liminal space, not a dark night of punishment, but a fertile darkness where the seeds of the new are sown. It is the necessary dissolution. There is no ascent to consciousness without traversing this terrain. The pain you feel is not failure. It is the ache of metamorphosis. I recall a man who described dragging himself through each day. His life was, by all external metrics, fine, but an inner rhythm had been lost. The more he tried to force gratitude, the emptier he became. During a mundane commute, he was suddenly struck with absolute clarity. I cannot stay here. He left his career soon after, with no detailed plan. Such choices rarely come from logic. They erupt from a subterranean shift, long in preparation. This phase is defined by a loss of certainty. The ground beneath you feels soft. But that very instability is a sign you are moving correctly. If you knew the destination already, you'd merely be rearranging furniture, not rebuilding the house. This is walking in a deep fog. You see only one step ahead, but that step reveals the next. An ancient parable tells of a seeker who came to a master, overwhelmed by the collapse of his world. The master filled a cup to the brim and asked the seeker to walk. Water spilled with every step. "The cup is too full," the master said. "You cannot receive a new direction while clinging to the weight of the old." The transition phase is that emptying. It is life clearing away what no longer fits to make space for the self to enter. Every psychological rebirth requires this dissolution. The old identity crafted from others' expectations, outdated roles, and comfort must soften for the true self to take form. You feel lost, not because you are off path, but because you have outgrown the path. Imagine a seed germinating deep in the earth. From above, the soil appears fractured and disturbed, but that rupture is not destruction. It is the necessary condition for life to break through. Your life is that soil. The cracking is not an end, but evidence of a pressing new beginning. If you feel unmoored, empty, alien in your own life, do not fear. You are in the active state of becoming. And this growth always starts with a necessary unraveling. This is not your conclusion. It is your invitation. Trust the process even in blindness, for you stand at the threshold of your return. If you recognize yourself in this liminal space, leave one word in the comments below. A single word to acknowledge your presence in this journey. It could be emerging, unfolding, or threshold. One word can be a pact with your future self. If the transition phase makes you feel untethered, the next stage will see long-buried aspects of yourself surge to the surface. This is not regression. This is integration. The shadow, the repository of all you have denied, suppressed, or deemed unacceptable, now seeks the light. It emerges not to destroy you, but to complete you. The shadow arrives as an uninvited mirror, forcing a confrontation with ignored wounds, irrational fears, and raw emotions that seem disproportionate to the present. You may find yourself reacting intensely to minor slights, feeling old griefs resurface, or experiencing unexplained anger. This is not a breakdown. It is a breakthrough. The unconscious is signaling that you are now strong enough to heal what was once too painful to face. As depth psychology teaches, we do not find wholeness by only chasing light, but by bringing awareness to our inner darkness. When darkness is consciously held, it loses its compulsive power. A colleague once shared that after leaving a long partnership, she became hypersensitive. A delayed text triggered panic. A changed plan felt like abandonment. Through reflection, she saw these weren't reactions to the present, but echoes of childhood neglect. When the structure of the relationship vanished, the unprotected shadow emerged. By facing those old wounds with compassion, their charge faded. The fear remained, but its tyranny ended. Neuroscience confirms this. When you experience a strong emotion like fear, the amygdala triggers a survival response. But when you simply observe the feeling with curiosity, the prefrontal cortex engages, regulating the response. By facing the emotion, you release energy trapped for decades. The shadow is the first gate to your wholeness. You cannot step into a larger life while dragging unseen burdens. The shadow asks you to face what you've avoided, to touch what you feared, to reclaim what caused shame. Only then can that locked energy be transmuted into power. Imagine a basement in a house you've lived in for years, always locked. You fear what's inside. When you finally turn on the light, you find not monsters, but forgotten artifacts, old stories, unused strengths, frozen tears. Clearing the space doesn't just empty the basement, it expands the entire house. The shadow is that basement. It must be entered not with dread, but with the intent to reclaim territory. If you are experiencing emotional storms, old memories, or sudden vulnerabilities, do not panic. You are not moving backward. You are in the alchemical core of your transformation. The shadow does not block your path, it clears it. And when you courageously face what once terrified you, a profound inner reorganization begins. After acknowledging the shadow, your inner world begins to restructure. Old, reactive patterns loosen their grip. You begin responding, not reacting. This isn't forced composure, it's the natural emergence of a self-led life. Where a harsh word once shattered your peace, you now find a pause. Where chaos once triggered panic, you find a steady center. You are less pulled into dramas, less governed by old wounds. This is your nervous system upgrading from survival mode to conscious response. It is the clearest signal of inner rearrangement. I knew someone named Alex, who historically fled conflict. Confrontation would trigger immediate withdrawal or tears. After doing the hard work of facing her shadow, she noticed a change. The space between trigger and response widened. She said, "I could breathe and choose." She wasn't trying to be calm, she was operating from a newfound depth. This is like winter's ice melting in spring's sun. The thaw isn't the river's effort, it's the result of a change in state. When your inner authority restructures, outdated reactions simply melt away because you now inhabit a different frequency. The fragile ego no longer has the weight to pull you into old scripts. This stage is marked by the quiet fading of the persona, the mask worn for society. You act less from a need for approval and more from an inner compass of integrity. Your decisions grow sharper, not from more data, but from deeper alignment. This restructuring manifests in subtle, powerful ways. The ability to set a boundary without guilt, to choose silence over winning a petty argument, to walk away from what drains you. These small acts build a new foundation. You begin to live as the person life has been preparing you to become: grounded, luminous, and unshakable. You are not becoming someone new. You are returning to the self you always were, beneath the noise. And if you feel this shift a gentler, truer way of engaging with your world, let it be affirmed. A simple acknowledgement can solidify this new architecture. As this inner solidity forms, a compelling pull toward quiet emerges. You withdraw from certain crowds, not from misanthropy, but because your energy is turning inward for a final consolidation. This is a sacred retreat, a ceremonial pause in the hero's journey. You may crave less conversation, feel less need to explain, find old social rituals draining. This isn't antisocial, it's your psyche entering a deliberate incubation period. This withdrawal feels purposeful, not lonely, as if you are gathering scattered fragments of soul. In practice, a woman once described leaving a busy social life behind after a personal upheaval. Friends called her distant. In truth, she was devoting mornings to silence, journaling, and long walks. She said, "I feel I am storing energy to return as a more complete version of myself." Months later, she launched a creative venture she'd lacked the clarity to begin before. That retreat was not an escape. It was the ignition of her launch sequence. This phase is like the ocean drawing a deep breath back before a mighty wave. Externally, it looks like stillness. Internally, a powerful regrouping is underway. You stop scattering energy on the unimportant, on people-pleasing, on noise. You prioritize inner nourishment, not from selfishness, but from necessity. The soul regenerates only in stillness. History's great thinkers often took such retreats. After a period of profound professional rupture, the psychologist Carl Jung retreated from public life. He engaged in what he called active imagination, walking by the lake, sketching visions from his unconscious. The world saw a man who had stepped back. In reality, he was laying the foundation for his most influential work. He disappeared to return transformed. Your sacred retreat is of the same nature. The world may think you are pausing. In truth, you are preparing to leap. And in the depths of that cultivated silence, you begin to perceive a new language from the universe. When you emerge from that deep inner consolidation, the external world begins to speak in a language of meaningful coincidence. Opportunities find you. The right person appears. A book falls open to the perfect page. This is synchronicity, outer events, mirroring your inner alignment. It doesn't happen when you are frantic and controlling. It flows when you are clear and self-possessed. Synchronicity is the universe's whisper. You are on frequency. It shows up in simple, profound ways. A man named Leo, after a year of focused inner work, suddenly thought of a former mentor he hadn't spoken to in a decade. Later that day, an email from that very mentor appeared in his inbox, reaching out spontaneously. For Leo, this wasn't just coincidence. It was confirmation of being in flow. When the ego's grip loosens and the self leads, life begins to connect dots through an invisible, intelligent logic. Ancient Greeks had a word, kairos, the opportune, supreme moment. It is the door that opens for the one who is ready. Synchronicity is the experience of kairos in your daily life, and it starts small. A song lyric that answers a silent question. A stranger's comment that perfectly addresses your doubt. These are not happy accidents. They are confirmations of alignment. You know you are in the return phase when coincidences begin to stack, when life feels less like a battle and more like a dance with a gracious partner. These signs do not come to rescue you. They come to confirm you. They are the universe nodding. Proceed. If you've noticed these subtle winks lately, do not dismiss them. They are the heralds of your new chapter. And your presence here now is part of that synchronicity. What if your great return is not a future event, but a process already in its final stages? The most profound shifts occur invisibly, in the realm of identity, before they manifest in circumstance. Your comeback is not coming. It is happening. Right now. The tipping point is not a loud event. It's the silent moment when your inner foundation permanently changes. You may look the same on the outside, but inside, you no longer operate from fear, lack, or old conditioning. A woman once shared that her transformation seemed sudden to others when she changed careers. But she said the true shift happened months earlier, the morning she decided, quietly, to stop betraying her own instincts. That was her invisible tipping point. Everything after was just the visible echo. Picture a dormant volcano. The surface is still, but miles below, magma moves, pressure builds, and tectonic plates shift. The eruption is what the world sees. But the decisive transformation happened in the deep, unseen preparation. Neuroscience describes a similar critical point in neural restructuring. Small, consistent changes in thought and behavior forge new pathways. For a time, nothing seems different. Then, a threshold is crossed, and the brain reorganizes into a new, more integrated network. You suddenly feel calmer, clearer, more resilient. This is biological metamorphosis. And then comes the moment of realization. You look back at past triggers and see they have lost their power. Your external life may not have fully caught up, but internally, you have crossed the frontier from contraction into expansion. You are no longer waiting for a sign. You have become the sign. The greatest return is not about reclaiming lost external things. It is about reclaiming your inner territory from the fears that occupied it. If you feel a resonant vibration as you hear this, a sense of standing before an invisible threshold, know this: you are not imagining it. You are at that tipping point. The miracle isn't something you await. The miracle is the profound rearrangement that has already taken place within you. A person in their true comeback doesn't look like someone about to explode. They look like someone who has finally come home to themselves, steady, deep, and unshakable. They have refined their soul in silence. Every experience, every fracture, every quiet awakening has become a layer of unbreakable foundation. If this journey resonates, if you feel seen, then this video has served its synchronicity. Your next chapter is already unfolding. Support this channel, Wines of Thought, by liking this video. It helps others find their way here. And subscribe. We will continue navigating these depths together.